All right. We are live.
Welcome to our media briefing and public access. It is Friday. We're looking forward to a respite over the weekend and come back strong on Monday to deal with the issues here for our state. Today we have Senator Shiozawa with us. He's going to talk about his bill on Medicaid expansion. So I'm going to turn some time over to him. Senator Shiozawa.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Senate Bill 164, which will deal with the expansion of Medicaid consistent with the Governor's Healthy Utah plan. And basically what this bill does is it asks for that waiver from the federal government, which will give to the state of Utah that amount of federal block grant, which will enable us as a state of Utah to ensure, or through the aspect of premium assistance, premium subsidies, that group of uninsured poor individuals who fall below the 138% of the federal poverty line. Now that's the intent of the bill. The nice thing about this bill also is that the governor, with the help of the Senate and House, has also negotiated maximum flexibility from the Secretary in terms of work effort requirements, as well as cost sharing, co-pays, and the option of putting this through premium support and into ACOs and to private health insurance. This has a number of major positives for the state of Utah. The governor has illuminated this, Senate President and others have illuminated this, but briefly let me just say three things on that. As a state, as you know, we are obligated under the Affordable Care Act to pay back hundreds of millions, perhaps up to $800 million of our tax money every year back to the federal government. We have the option under the 2012 ruling by the or the 2014 ruling under the Supreme Court of reclaiming hundreds of millions of dollars of that every year for our use under the auspices of this particular program. Now, what it would also do would give us guarantees downstream that if the federal money were to be terminated, this bill will allow the state of Utah to withdraw from this program. It also establishes a firm review date and other items that are consistent with the Healthy Utah plan. Now that's in it, in a basis of where we're going with this at this time. Be happy to entertain some questions if that's appropriate.
It's
Mr.
very
President.
appropriate. Any questions for Senator Shiozawa?
I guess the political question: do you feel like your colleagues are willing to support this? We had, I think, 19 votes last year for the 100% level. Are you gonna lose votes by going to 138?
Going to 138% is a concern for many of the senators and House members. And ideally, it would have been a wonderful fix to have the enhanced support at 100% of the FPL like we had last year. But we couldn't get the Secretary to do that. And so one of the fallback plans is to do what? Is to have either this or not go forth with something nearly as beneficial to the state of Utah. Now, in answer to your question, do we have the support of the Senate and the House? Let me just speak to that. As more people become educated, both in the citizen population and here on the Hill, as they understand what this bill does, the positive implications it has, the safeguards it has built into this legislation, more and more of them will be comfortable with this bill and will support it. So I'm optimistic on that basis. Thank you.
We are going to have a caucus meeting, Robert, next Tuesday to discuss this and other Medicaid bills, and so we'll know better what the support is after that caucus meeting.
Is that the joint House and Senate caucus, or just a?
It's just the Senate.
Okay.
Have you had any further discussions about whether you're going to do the joint caucus meeting?
We had an initial discussion about the possibility of that. I think there was a little misinterpretation probably on the part of the House and the Senate, and I apologize for any misunderstandings that have happened. But we will, after our meeting on Tuesday in caucus, we will then reconsider whether we want to have a joint meeting. Senator Okren, do you have anything to add to that?
No, that pretty well sums it up. We initially mentioned this to our caucus, and their feeling was, let's have our discussion in our caucus meeting, kind of see where we are on it before we decide where to go from there. There have been numerous other meetings where we have been talking about this issue, and I think we're getting fairly comfortable that everybody in our caucus understands the proposals that are out there, but we do have these bills that we'll be looking at in caucus now that they're ready and they're out. And we can have that really good discussion in caucus, and then we'll decide where we want to go from there.
Your bills, I guess, are Senator Christensen's bill and now Senator Shiezawa's bill. Those are the only two, I think, right?
Senator Davis also has a bill
and Senator
that's
Davis' bill, yeah.
full expansion.
Is that going to be, you going to be discussing that one in the caucus as well?
We'll be discussing all of them, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for Senator Shiezawa? Any questions from our viewers?
Today.
Okay.
I'd like a minute, if I could. I want to alert you, we're having executive appropriations at 12:20, thereabouts. And I want you to be...
5 minutes ago?
We're going to approve the budget submitted to us by the committees, which will be basically 98%, generally speaking, for the committees. And then we're going to allocate that money back to them so they can reallocate or even put back in the same programs as they work through this next week, as they go through budgets. They'll also prepare priority lists as we can become solid on how much new money we have in light of the new revenue projections coming in, we're thinking on February the 18th. So at least anyone runs out of here and writes a story that we just cut public education by 2%, that's certainly not true. The base budget is the starting point. It's kind of like somebody said, looking at the score at the halftime of the Super Bowl and saying, boy, I guess the Seattle Seahawks won. We're just starting. And the second part, we can't here do the money allocation, but the money is set aside to go back into committees. Plus, in public ed, we hope to give some additional money for the funding of growth and take care of that. So I'm just saying this so you understand it's a process, and don't stop it at halftime and say the Seattle won like I wish they would have done.
I think while we're though on Medicaid expansion, we do have Senator Davis here, so you have a bill. Did you want to say anything about?
My bill is nothing more than the full Medicaid expansion that is proposed by under the ACA. And I think it's important. I think it gives an outreach to more citizens. And I think it's a better route to go than what's on the table being discussed in the legislature right now. But I also know how to count. And I know where the tensions are. And I've been working with the president and the majority leader in making sure that that bill does get heard.
Any questions for Senator Davis?
So the Senate caucus right now, the Democratic caucus right now, is supporting your bill. Have they taken a vote on whether they would support Healthy Utah? I mean, obviously the bill hasn't been out until today, but it's due.
We have not taken any firm caucus position on any bill at this time. Our discussions has been support for full Medicaid expansion, and there is interest in Healthy Utah as well.
We'll take questions on other issues. Any other questions today?
I think we talked about this maybe earlier this week or last week, I can't remember the time. But Senator Jenkins' two bills dealing with Count My Vote are up for discussion this afternoon. Has there been any further discussion in caucus about that or any votes?
There have not. We haven't had any further discussion since just recognizing that there were some bills probably that are going to come out. Obviously, there are individuals talking, but we haven't had any further discussions in caucus.
What about on adjusting, raising gas tax? That was a discussion early on. Where are things in that discussion currently?
We're waiting for the bills to come out. We understand that there are a couple of bills that are going to be coming out, different ideas. One just to raise the gas tax, another maybe to have some kind of an indexing that may be tied to a tax rate or something like that. So we're waiting for those ideas to mature, and we get bills that we can take a look at, and then we'll have that discussion in caucus. Nothing yet.
No other questions? Please have a great weekend. Because I hope I do.